UConn got that feeling of big hoops energy in stores. You know what time it is. Let's get it.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions. Let's go.
Welcome back into the Hoops Cap Pod. I am your host, Mark Zanetto, as always on the Hoops Cap. Listen, thank you so much for being a part of the Hoops Cap Pod, part of Big East Energy Network. The only place where you can get true independent coverage of both the UConn men's and women's basketball programs and the entire Big East on BigEastEnergyNetwork.com. And while this show's obviously about UConn, Big East Energy Network is bigger than just one team. We've got Pirate Vibes, we've got Roll Jays, we have Johnny's Report, we have Built to Ball coming soon on the Big East Energy Network for the women's basketball. We have Holy Nova, we have On Target, which is going to talk about the WNBA and basically give you Caitlin Clark news that you know and love, and a lot more on the way. So go subscribe to all of our shows across the network. When we do well, I do well, and you keep this building upright, all the things that we're trying to do, we're trying to really give you the content that you deserve, right? And in this episode in particular, we're going to get into this connection of Azzi and Sarah. Gino Auriemma was at a golfing event, and he couldn't stop smiling this week, and for good reason. At his charity golf tournament, he made it very loud and clear. Azzi Fudd is finally the player everyone expected her to be, and maybe even more. I think that's a very good, distinct possibility that she is going to impress a lot of people this coming year. For the first time in her UConn career, Azzi enters the offseason fully healthy. She's aggressive. She's vocal. Gino sees her stepping into that alpha role that was left behind by the inevitable Paige, shed a tear, Beckers, for her not being in stores. And in Sarah Strong, who already may be the best player in the country, is looking to back up that freshman season and have this incredible two-headed monster that could anchor another title run. Really, kind of that's what you're expecting in stores. Gino said their battles in practice have been electric. It's the most competitive summer UConn has had in years. And with a fully healthy Ayanna Patterson, Carolyn Ducharme finding her rhythm again, 15 players all together on scholarship, the depth is finally real. So, yes, Azzi has the Final Four breakthrough and is playing with a newfound confidence. I saw some video of her, and I saw, what's really interesting to me is not only just how vocal and how aggressive that Azzi is being from an athletic standpoint. She's being more vocal from a verbal standpoint. And something that it's also given this team is a clear-cut leader, but Azzi also does it in kind of like what's a good way to put it? And it's not meant to be passive aggressive, but yeah, I don't know if you've ever had a friend or someone that you really love, whether it's a spouse or a significant other that you respect. And if they tell you something, that's kind of, maybe you should do it a different way, but they do it in kind of a gentle manner, that comes across as pretty, like they wouldn't have mentioned it if they didn't believe that, right? So what I'm seeing is Azzi would say stuff to Sarah and they would kind of go back and forth, but almost like little subtle jabs. And Sarah was just like, no, like, so Sarah is actually picking up on that. And it's actually a interesting little leadership tactic where Sarah reminds me of a person that if you get on her too much, she'll either tune you completely out because she seems very chill, or she'll take it to heart. And I think a way around all of that is you can still be have constructive criticism for her and want to coach her and teach her, but she just needs to be talked to. It just seems like she needs to be talked to in a specific way. And I think what's beautiful about Azzi is that she's kind of, you can tell that she's been in this program for a long time because she's taking on that role of, they all respect me now. So now I'll step forward. And that's not easy for a lot of people. and she's done it pretty seamlessly. So it really goes to show the maturity and the growth that she's had as a person too. But yeah, I think in the videos, if you see it, you see Sarah talking a lot, being more assertive. That is huge, huge news. More so than anything. Sarah Strong is already the best player in the country. If Sarah Strong is now starting to put people in places to help maximize her ability and her teammates like Azzi, who was shooting praise to Kaylee Heckel, giving a little the business to Khalees. My favorite line so far from the offseason is Gino saying that Khalees says that her nickname is Big Fish, and he said, "Who calls you that?" And he said, "No, I can guarantee you nobody calls you that. She's already delusional." And he said they're having some fun with that. And he said that Gandy is 18 going on 32, and Khalees is 18 going on 12. So hasn't mentioned a lot about Blanca Quinones. I would imagine that she's going to be as incredible, if not as advertised, as we've talked about in others on different programs. So, yeah, look, I think it's going to be fun to watch with Azzi and Sarah all year. It's going to be a really interesting mix because, again, first time having 15 people on the roster under scholarship. The depth is incredible, but it's going to be all about staying healthy and really keeping the momentum going from this Azzi and Sarah combination. All right. Hey, by the way, check out BigHoopsEnergy.com if you want to get any of these Big Hoops Energy hats. I think I'm loving these snapback. You can see that it's totally adjustable. Have this bad boy. I think we have it in green, we have it in blue, black, maroon, just in the summer colors. And UConn areas had that Big Hoops Energy since 1986, just like the hat says. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about coaching the sons of Rebecca Lobo and Jen Rizzotti, how that's working out. We had Jen Rizzotti on Locked On podcast a long time ago, and she talked about coaching her son with Rebecca. So we're going to dive into that story and coaching their son's AAU team. Maybe sometime in the near future we can have one, if not both of them on. They can talk about that. The two UConn legends. Great story of them coaching their kids coming up after the break. Welcome back to the Hoops Cap Pod, powered by Big East Energy. Go check out all of our shows on the Big East Energy Network, wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, Amazon, I believe, as well. But anywhere you can find them, we will be there. This last segment and a half, these last two segments, is really kind of it made my week reading this story. So Rebecca Lobo and Jen Rizzotti are co-coaching their sons' AAU teams, the Connecticut Force. Lobo flies home from broadcasting the WNBA games to make tournaments. Rizzotti brings the same fire we've all saw in stores and in Hartford and with the Connecticut Sun and GW and into gyms all across Connecticut and the college landscape. These two are Hall of Famers and literally shaping the next generation, not just as moms, but as really cultural leaders. Right? I mean, I personally didn't care when I was growing up whether my coach was a man or a woman, but it's hard to not grow up in Connecticut and not know who Rebecca Lobo and Jen Rizzotti are. Even now, if you're their kids, Rebecca Lobo's on TV all the time. Jen Rizzotti probably can't pay for a meal in Connecticut. So it's not celebrity status similar to like the Kardashians, or I just think of like all the kids who were on the reality shows like the Housewives and all that stuff. But because sports media and the landscape of our time is different, the kids with Rebecca's son and Jennifer's son probably get the better end of this because they weren't in that public eye during a social media age. They may be now, but I think that's just that actually, I feel like they catch a break because, you really it sucks for kids to be in the public eye like that, but the fact that they're not truly in the public eye, I think that helps kind of shape why Rebecca and Jen would do a story like this and kind of, talk about what they're trying to do. So, they talked about coaching against male coaches who don't want to lose to women, which I've been to some of these AAU and tournament type atmospheres. There's still a lot of misogynistic, weird culture when it comes to, you don't want to lose to a girl. It's like, look, I think sometimes, and these are two stark differences. One is directly with my family. The other is a famous basketball family that has a Hall of Fame woman and a Hall of Fame man. For me personally, growing up in the good old city of Meriden, Connecticut, my sister, Amy, who is and was a phenomenal athlete, was all-state volleyball, all-state tennis, and 4 or 5 years older than me. So mature wise, she was older, stronger, faster. And it took a while for me to beat her until I was of kind of like the size I am today. When I was, 13, 14, had that growth spurt. And I think I beat her a couple times, maybe when I was 12 and she was 16, but only because I figured out how to do things physically, like from a tennis standpoint, that is a difficult ball for women to hit. Right. So, there was always sibling rivalry. She probably didn't care as much as I did, but that's maybe she didn't let on. But older sisters kick the shit out of their younger brother's ass. Like that's just how it works until they figure out how to do it. And it is no different if you have an older brother or whatever. And so I would think that over time, enough older women beat down on some of these younger guys. Like I, would get the crap kicked out of me by my sister when she was older, or when I was a young kid, because little boys are annoying, and they just that just is kind of part of growing up. And so another example of that is Reggie Miller was a phenomenal basketball player. His sister was probably the best basketball player in the country, like male or female, and she just kept on being better than him. And you would think that over time that men could handle that, but I guess not. I don't think I handled it well either when I was a kid. Now, I think one time my wife beat me in a game of horse, and it was like, cool, good for you. That's awesome. Like I just, I wish I could equate all this into everyday life, but I really hope the guys that they're playing AAU against, I'd love to have that conversation with them to kind of know if do they ever have that confrontation, or has it ever gotten ugly like that? Because I have to imagine there's got to be a lot of joy and, maybe some sadness when you lose and that's the end of the season, but maybe some relief too as a parent, like, okay, finally we can stop traveling. But I love that they teamed up to coach their sons and kind of teach them that doesn't matter who your coach is, as long you're getting really solid coaching from two of the best to ever put on a jersey. So yeah, I would much rather have my son learn from Rebecca or Jennifer than my neighbor who is like a mailman, but knows a lot about basketball, so he's going to teach my son how to play. So anyway, I think that foundation that they're setting is fantastic. And the UConn women's basketball program feels different this summer. I think the best way to describe it is Sarah is the best basketball player in the country. Azzi is ready to completely take off into the stratosphere of being a top 5, top 2 player in the world. And Gino's got the absolute depth, the health, and hunger in the building that he couldn't probably pinpoint how perfect this is until we get down the road a little bit. But the future is very bright. The past is always something to look at from legends like Rebecca Lobo and Jen Rizzotti. But the UConn standard is winning championships and winning multiple championships within one class. And right now, One might say that this UConn women's team is built to ball at the highest of levels. So remember, if you've enjoyed today's show, make sure you like and subscribe. Rate the Hoopscap 5 stars. While you're at it, show some love to the entire Big East Energy Network. Hitting that 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify. Follow all of your squad shows, whether it's UConn and you want to figure out what's going on with the Big East. If you're a Villanova fan, just check it out. Go to BigEastEnergy.com for all the merch, including this hat and this bomber and this shirt. Bonus content, everything we're trying to build. Appreciate you rocking with us. We are just getting started, and we can't wait until the start of the 25-26 season. Have a great one.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions.